What's up, guys? It's your boy Beatty, back again with another video. And today I want to cover a topic that I've been getting a lot of questions about on Instagram, Facebook, so on and so forth. And that's going to be whether you should come off of gear, whether you should blast and cruise, whether you should TRT, so on and so forth. So obviously this is going to base a lot off of your experience level, how advanced you are, how long you've been on gear, how much muscle you have, whether you compete or not. There's so many variables. Okay. So I guess I'll start with beginners and guys that don't compete, or if you do compete and you're a beginner. So obviously if you're a beginner, you're probably looking at anywhere from 200 milligrams to 500 milligrams of test, along with probably some orals, probably a D-ball or Anavar, Anagel, something like that. So obviously in this case, you want to go on and you want to come completely off PCT with your HCG and Novadex. Some people like to just do Novadex because they feel like, a beginner cycle isn't enough to warrant the need of HCG. I always say cover your ass. All right. It can't hurt to boost your natural test higher. It can't hurt. It can only help you. So I always say HCG and Novadex every single cycle, no matter if it's your first or last. Okay. So I won't get into the exact PCT. I'll save that for another video. Okay. So beginner, I would say go on 3 to 4 months, 12 to 16 weeks, and then come off completely from anywhere from 8 weeks to 16 weeks. Like I said, it depends on your goals, depends how much muscle you have, depends if you compete or not. Obviously, if you compete, you're trying to make a lot of progress. If you're doing more than one show, you may need to stay on longer. You may need to come off less longer. It's all dependent. You can actually coach, or you can ask somebody with the experience that can help you. I always recommend have a coach anyway. So if you're a beginner, definitely have a coach. Most importantly, if you're intermediate, advanced, I still actually recommend a coach. Okay, there's a reason why top pros have coaches. They can obviously prep themselves, but it's good to have that extra eye and extra input, because when you're dieting, your viewpoint is so skewed. You know what I'm saying? You're usually way off. You usually think you're on point and you're not, or you think you're far off and you're actually on point. It's so far off. So to stop you from doing anything crazy, some people work too hard. Some people don't work hard enough. It's good to have that second set of eyes to help you out. Now let's get a little bit more advanced, okay? If you're intermediate, you're probably around 750 tests a week. You have another compound in there, maybe EQ, maybe DECA, probably 400 to 500 milligrams per week, and you're on an oral, okay? Let's say you compete, okay? Let's say you're getting ready for your first competition, okay? What I like to do with these intermediate people is I don't like to go straight off. I don't like to just go from cycle, cold turkey. What I've noticed, you get a lot better results without any kind of decline. You can actually, when I do this with clients, they actually continue to gain muscle while being off, believe it or not. Sounds crazy, right? Not only do you not lose muscle, you can actually continue to get stronger and gain muscle, actually. Ooh, crazy, right? So what I actually like to do with them is I actually taper down, right? So they'll go from 750 tests with the other compounds. I'll have them come off the other compounds, come off the oral, come off the EQ or DECA, Primo, whatever you add, and they'll stay on 500 tests a week. Okay, so they'll come off the other compounds, stay on the 500 milligrams of tests, probably about 4 weeks, something like that. Then they'll drop that 500 down to 250, believe it or not. I'm not saying you have to do this. I know some people are going to say, oh, you don't have to do that because the long acting stuff is, it tapers itself and stuff like that, whatever. Cool, so do it your way. This is my way that I've noticed works really well. You taper down to the 500, get off the other compounds. Now you're on just 500 mgs a test a week, 4 weeks, boom. Now after that, go down to 250. All right, so now you're at 250 for probably another 2 weeks. something like that. Okay. Then you cut out the 250. Well, mind you, this is long acting, so I'm talking about test E or test C, not the probe. Probe will be completely different. It has a way shorter half life, so it's going to be different for probe. But we're going by E right now. Okay. So E or C. So now you're on 250 for another 2 weeks. Now you come off completely. Okay. Come off completely off the 250. You wait 10 days, you start your ACG, okay? You start your PCT. You get off completely, you wait 10 days, you start your PCT, which is going to be the ACG, followed by the Novatix, okay? And then now you can stay off depending on what shows you have coming up, what you have going on in your life, and your goals, obviously. So now you've been on 500 for 4 weeks, you've been on 250 for 2 weeks, so you basically been on a taper / cruise for about 6 weeks, okay? So now you're gonna stay completely off, probably another 6 weeks or so, okay? I think anywhere from 4 to 8 weeks. That's a very broad spectrum, but like I said, it depends on what you're doing. So now you're off completely for 4 to 8 weeks. So you add that plus the 6 weeks, we're looking at 10 to 14 weeks off the actual real cycle, okay? But you would have been seeing progress this whole time. You shouldn't have lost any gains. You shouldn't have lost any size whatsoever. Okay? So that's what I like to do with some of the intermediate guys I work with. Now for the advanced bodybuilders, okay? Now we're going to say this person is probably a top level amateur, okay? Could even be a pro, okay? I do work with a couple IFBB pros as well. I mostly work with amateurs, but I do have a few IFBB pros as well. So what you'll do is, let's say this pro or top amateur is on 1,000 milligrams test. They're on 600 EQ. They're on 100 D-ball. They're on 4 IUs of GH. Okay, let's say that. Some people probably think that's a lot. Some people probably think it's too little and guys take more, whatever. The point is that's what they're on, right? So from there, I'll have them go down to 500 tests, like the previous one, come off everything else, right? 500 tests, 2 IUs of GH, boom. Stay off everything else. Stay here about 4 weeks. Should still be progressing, still be making gains. Now you go down to 250. You can stay on the 2 IUs of GH, boom. Another 2 weeks. Now I'll add even an extra one. Sometimes it's even more than 2 weeks. Like I said, it's all going to depend on what you have going on. You know what I'm saying? What shows you have coming up, how much time you have to actually resensitize yourself. Okay, I'll do 4 weeks on the 500, 2 to 4 weeks on the 500, 2 to 4 weeks on the 250. Then I might go as far as doing 1 cc every other week. So now we're looking at 125 milligrams. Boom. Because you have to get a feel for these people's levels, right? You could obviously come completely off and get your levels tested, whatnot, or whatever you want to do. But this is a formula I found works pretty well. Because you want to get a feel for the athlete. Make sure they can come off without crashing or without feeling like shit. So now I go to, every other week. So we're talking about 125 milligrams a test, right? So now you're going to stay at 125 milligrams. Usually by the 3rd week, on 125 milligrams, you can tell if there's a shift. So if there's a shift and you feel like complete shit, now you know it's going to be hard for you to come off, okay? You might have been cycling so long or so hard that you may not be able to come completely off without losing a lot of muscle and without feeling pretty shitty, unless you want to do ACG therapy or whatnot. But that's usually after you're done competing. You do like an ACG therapy, which is like 250, 500 milligrams IU of ACG, basically for as long as you need it until your test kind of goes up and you feel stabilized. So basically, you'll be on 125 milligrams. When you wait that 3 weeks, see how you feel. If the person feels good enough, feels good, still pretty strong, and the energy's there, sex drive, everything is there, then they can come completely off. Like I said, now at this level, you can't just stay off for months on months on months, obviously, because you have to maintain as much muscle as possible, and you have to probably start your off season or contest prep for next show. So you'll probably come completely off for another 2 to 4 weeks. Like I said, this is gonna vary from person to person, from 2 to 4 weeks, and then you're gonna do your ACG and Novodex, everything, and then now what's gonna happen is when you get back on cycle, you're super sensitive to the compounds, so you're gonna grow like a weed. Okay, this is probably the single biggest mistake that guys make. From what I've noticed, this is the single biggest mistakes that I see from guys who take it to that next level and really, pack on crazy size and turn pro and whatnot. This is the biggest difference I see. The average gear user always wants to look good. They don't have that vision to see in the future and say, okay, I'm taking a step back, but it's gonna propel me to actually get huge. They don't have this vision. They're so scared to shrink 5 pounds just one time a year. They're so scared to shrink that 5 pounds that they want to stay on year round or only come off for a week or two and get back on. And what happens is that they're gonna maintain more size than the other guy who's coming off. They're gonna maintain that look longer, obviously, because they're on, but they'll never go anywhere. These are the guys you see that are 230 pounds ripped, but they look that same way for 5 years plus, and they just keep looking that same way because they're so scared to get off and take that step back that they never actually take those 2 steps forward. Okay, that's the biggest mistake I see, and guys just keep looking the same year after year after year. They don't make any changes. They don't want to resensitize their body, and they'll be like, oh, I have to take so much gear because it's like my body is weird. I don't know why, but my body is like just not sensitive to drugs. It's not that your body isn't sensitive. It's that you're desensitizing your body. You don't give it any breaks. So it's not like you're this anomaly that, you're not affected by gear. No, you've done this to your own body. Everybody is sensitive to it. That's why we all get crazy results our first few times. But if you're not coming off and you keep staying on, you're not going to get the results you want. So I can't stress it enough. You have to come off. And if you can't come off because your natural test production is so damaged, you have to go down to TRT, okay? 500 milligrams of test a week is not TRT. 400 is not TRT. 250 can be considered as TRT, but I would advise you to try to get even lower than that. So if you're going to do TRT, I would advise you to go to 250 every other week or every 10 days, something like that. That's going to really get you sensitive. Now, when you start back up, you can literally start at a beginner dose. You can start at 500 milligrams of test with 500 EQ or 400 EQ, whatever, and you'll get results as if you were on 2 grams. I guarantee you. It works every time, and it works for all my clients. It works for me. It's worked for a bunch of top guys. It works, okay? If you're trying to look like Superman all year round, you're going to end up just maintaining. People just maintain for decades. And I'm saying, there's guys that I started this journey with, and they look exactly the same. And they see me, they're like, oh, wow, you got so big. It's like, yeah, because I know what I'm doing. That's why I'm big. You know what I'm saying? It's obviously not working for you. Did you expect me to look the same? I'm not supposed to look the same. I'm supposed to be improving all the time. But these guys look the same because they just went on blast year round. And I came off for 1 week, or I did a cruise for 8 weeks. I did a cruise for 8 weeks. And you're like, what did you do for a cruise? They're like, well, I'm on 500 test. I'm on 500 EQ, and I'm on 5 IUGH. How is that a cruise? That's the full cycle. You know what I'm saying? So those guys just kind of look the same. But hopefully this could help you out. Hopefully you listen, and hopefully you continue making gains and not, stalling your progress because you're so scared to take a step back. It's okay. Nobody notices but you. Nobody notices that you lost 5 pounds of water weight. It's okay. You'll be fine. You look great. You're still big, okay? Yeah, so hope that helps all of you guys who've been asking me about TRT and cruising and blasting and coming off. Hopefully that was helpful to y'all. And stay tuned for much more videos. I'm basically just going to have videos on every question I get, and I'm going to go really in depth and answer everything. Listen, I'm not scared to talk about gear. I'm not scared to talk about anything. But just understand, gear isn't everything. There's so much that goes into this. Don't just listen to the gear videos and then ignore everything else. Everything plays a part. Everything is equally as important, okay? If you diet and take gear and don't train, you'll look like nothing. If you train and take gear and don't give yourself the proper diet, you still look like nothing, okay? If you train and diet and don't take gear, you can actually still look really good. So that tells you a lot, you know what I'm saying? But add that gear and you'll take it to the next level. So I think that kind of sums it up to see which one is the most important. Diet, training, then the gear. It's like a final touch. So like I said, you can train and diet and look great without the gear, but you can't do it the other way around, right? You know what I'm saying? And when you do the gear, you gotta do it the right way. So make sure you get a coach. If you need me to coach you, shoot me an email at babyfall@icloud.com. You know, but even if it's not me, it doesn't matter. Whoever it is, as long as it's a good coach, get a coach for sure. But that's it for this video. If you like this video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Leave some comments for any topics you want me to cover. Like I said, diet, training, supplementation, gear, all that good stuff. Leave some comments of what you want me to cover. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace. Gains.